right, good morning. Welcome back to Shralp Stories. Thanks for tuning back in. We're going to do a tech tips today, but first we're going to go surf, obviously, because the waves are firing. And I'm leaving tonight on a special secret covert op mission to a slab central, and you guys will get to see it because I'm bringing a GoPro along. We're going to get some cool clips of that, maybe some b-roll stuff as well at different places, but we're not going to give away any locations because that's how we roll here at Shralp Stories. Today I'm going to give you guys some super good tips on how to pack for a surf trip, and this is a very cold surf trip, so I'll kind of go over like some little things about warm water surf trips. It's a little easier to pack for, but mostly today, freezing cold weather, how to pack for a surf trip. So stay tuned. For now, let's go for a surf. Got a little windy, kind of, I don't know, I felt really off today. It was weird, but Gino was out there ripping, got a couple good waves, same with James, and Brandon too. We had some fun. Got like one little barrel, but rode the new Alley Rat 2 model from Timmy Patterson, as seen on Stab in the Dark. Round pin, it's a board that we kind of worked on. He like had me do some of the testing along with Matt Archibald and probably a couple other guys as well, but gave him a lot of feedback, and it kind of all stemmed from like an old 90s surfboard. Nice thin rails, a lot of rocker, and single concave, pretty mellow, standard shortboard, but it's kind of my everyday board, and it's something that I'm going to be bringing on my trip actually tonight. So let's go home and I'll go over what I put in my board bag, how I pack my boards so they don't get hurt, and what I bring in my backpack as well. And I like to travel light, so I typically only bring a duffel bag, but I got a lot of jackets and stuff for this trip, so gonna have to utilize as much storage in my my board bag. So give you guys some tips on how to do it, and I'll even show you how to pack a board with glassed in fins too, which is always gonna be a chore. So head on over to Shralp HQ, and I'll see you over there. All right. So the surf was kind of fun, and now I got to start getting ready for my trip. I got myself my 8-foot board bag here. It's got wheels in the back. Always key to have wheels when you're going on a trip. It makes your bag a little bit heavier, which airports and airlines don't typically like. Sometimes you have to pay for extra baggage fee that costs a little bit more, but it's worth it in the long run when you're lugging around a bunch of stuff in your bag and it's pretty annoying. So today I'm going to kind of show you guys a walkthrough of how I like to pack my bags. And to start it off, glassed-in fins, fixed fins aren't typically very common these days. Not a lot of people have them, but some do. And sometimes you really want to travel with those boards. So today I'm using my 7.9 lightning bolt, or actually, shoot, I think this thing's 8.3. But as you can see, it has a fixed fin on the back. So what I did, you don't want to break your fin out on your travel. When you get there, you're pretty bummed when your fin's broken out and you can't even surf the board that you went all the way there with. So what I did is I took pieces of styrofoam. Now this was, yay thick and a bunch of them. So I took glue, like spray glue, and I glued them all together, and then I duct taped it so it kind of held it all secure. And I did it just about the length of my fin and a little bit extra. And what I did is I took a knife and I actually just stabbed it a bunch of times to like break up the foam to make a little space for where my fin can slide into. So that way, when you put it on your board, it slides right in, and that way you have a nice surface to connect with the surfboard so that you're not putting any stress on the actual fin. It's kind of displacing the pressure that they're going to be putting on it when they're throwing it around. And that way keeping your fin solid and strong in the board. And then I take this and I duct tape it all together so that it's nice and tight and nice and strong, and it's not going to be tweaking your fin. If anything, it'll be tweaking the foam onto the board. It kind of just makes a nice strong little barrier to keep it safe. So that's my tip. Get some styrofoam, glue it together for the thickness. If you have a thruster, kind of measure out. Like what I did was I pressed the foam on top of the fins so you see where the markings are going to be. Stab out little holes for every fin, and you want one solid piece for all of your fins. Don't do individual pieces, because then you have more of a chance of it to break out or come off in general. So I like to do one solid piece for the whole tail of the board, so that way it keeps all of them secure and all of them in the same exact spot, and not one single fin is going to have a bunch of stress on it. It kind of spreads out all the pressure. So there's that. I also like to leave a little bit of room when I put my boards in. I'll put this board in last so that it's kind of floating off the back and it's not actually just resting on the fin. So let me go grab my other boards and I'll start packing. Don't mind the Rip Curl logos. IPV is better. But these are all old things from when I used to ride for Rip Curl. All right, so now with our standard short boards, pop out your fins. Pretty straightforward. I'm sure everyone already does that, but I like to remind you. Sometimes we forget. But then I like to go get my board sock. These are key for traveling in general. A lot of the times your boards are going to end up on the roof of a car. Sometimes you're at the top of the rack, and it's really good to have a board sock to keep your board out of the sun. If you're somewhere tropical, you don't want your board to heat up and delaminate or all your wax to melt off or something like that. So board socks go a long way. For traveling in your board bag, it adds a little bit extra layer of protection, and also an extra layer of protection once you're actually on the trip as well. And then I like to go biggest board first. Set that one to the side. Here I got my 6.7 Old Faithful tube shooter. And a lot of the times your board bags will have these little dividers right here. So what I like to do is put at least 2 of them on the bottom. You don't really need them for the in-between of your boards, because that's not going to be a place of impact for when they're throwing your board bag around. These things are really heavy. So a lot of the times the airline guys kind of just chuck them because they're over it and they don't want to lift it. So I like to put 2 on the bottom, throw the biggest board down, save this one for the last board on the very top, because those are the places you want the most padding. Now I also have some cardboard in here. The back of the board bag, you'll see, is pretty rigid as it is, with the wheels as well. It kind of keeps it nice and strong in the back. So I'm not super concerned about that area. It's more about the nose of the boards. So what I like to do is make sure all this is straight. What I like to do is pack this around the front of your boards, so that way it keeps it nice and protected. And a lot of the times this stuff comes out when they're moving it and stuff. But we gotta try, you know? You don't try, you never know. So then, take my next smallest board, plop that one down, and I like to think about it with the rocker. There's more nose rocker than tail rocker typically, so I'll slide this one up a bit so that the noses are kind of unison and the curve of the surfboard's all in the same spot, like in theory. And like I previously mentioned, I like to put this one in last so that there's a little bit of extra space in the back of the board bag for my fin. So you plop this guy down, and there you have it. That's kind of what you're looking at. Last thing, towels. You're gonna need them when you're surfing. They're also great packing material as well. So what I like to do, spread them out on the top of the boards so that it keeps it protected on the deck of the board bag. Because like I said, they're gonna be throwing stuff around on top of it and all over. So you really wanna make sure they're protected. Some people will even take pool noodles, put them on the rails of their surfboard. I usually have just towels kind of draping over. That seems to do the trick just fine for the most part. Knock on wood. I've been lucky so far. But then a lot of people typically will like to put, there's different little pockets in the front of the board bag for fins or leashes or things like that. Don't do it. I've had situations where a fin will poke through the thing, through the little packaging, and stab a hole in the bottom of your board, and it's not fun. So it's not good to be doing ding work when you're on a surf trip. So I take all that stuff out and put it in my regular carry-on or suitcase, whatever you got. I just bring a carry-on bag, but to each their own. But try to keep as much sharp objects out as possible. Now, so like I said, I used to ride for Rip Curl, hence all the Rip Curl stuff. I love them, but IPD's better, like I said. Anyway, these are pretty bulky items to put in your suitcase, your regular traveling suitcase. So I like to throw them in my board bag as extra cushion and extra padding. So find a good spot. Sometimes it's the tail of the board, sometimes it's the nose. In this case, it's gonna be the nose. And I like to pack it in there so that a little bit goes underneath the boards to kind of take up that space from the rocker. And it also allows a little extra cushion. If you were to push on it, it's not gonna push down all the way and mess up your boards. You zip it up. Maybe throw in a couple jackets or something like that if you have big items. And this is probably the most important part right here. You wanna make sure this thing's tight. If it's loose at all and wiggly, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to carry around the airport and more difficult for the guys to load up as well. So that's where these little straps on the side come into play. Make sure they're all super tight. And there you have it. So you got your whole coffin here. You'll be able to wheel it around the whole airport nice and easy. And that's that. Quick, what was that, 15 minutes or something? But anyway, I hope this helped you guys out with packing a little bit. Hope you learned something about glass on fins and how to pack those properly, or how I see fit. For now, I'm gonna go on my trip. I'm gonna bring my GoPro along with me. Connor unfortunately isn't gonna make it on this one, but I'm gonna try to get some clips from some different waves, some very cold water, very cold weather. And yeah, thanks for tuning back in to another episode of Tech Tips with Uncle Colty, and I'll catch you guys next week. All right.